Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the next episode of Bowls Breakdown Podcast with Matthew and Mike. And today we have Liam Stone. Welcome, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now then, everybody's telling me I'm mad having you on the podcast because you speak very honestly, don't you?
Can't help it, but sometimes I should hold it back a bit.
No, it's all right, but it's all right. So, we had put out there, and this was part of that, of people to come and talk about bowls and their journey on bowls. And you were keen to come on, fair play to you. So, welcome on to the podcast. We start where we always start.
Yeah.
It's the same old
we
thing.
ask the same question to everyone.
Yeah.
You know, it's about you guys who come on. So, obviously, for you, where did bowls start for you then, bud?
Funny enough, I was on about this to my mother this morning because I don't really know. But yeah, so my mother reckons I was about 18 months old going up our outdoor green with my granddad. Sadly not longer with us, but he started taking me up there at a young age. Like it'd just be rolling jacks a couple of yards to him or whatever, and then gradually the stronger I got, the further I could throw it. And then I remember joining Merthyr indoors then in, I would say, around 97 at the junior section. And it just started from there then and started to enjoy it. I was playing football at the time as well, and obviously rugby. But yeah, so I started to really enjoy bowls, and
Okay.
it was thanks to my grandfather really.
Okay, let's go back. I want to break that down a little bit. I always find that people come in and give this story and it goes very quick. It's like I started at whatever and then I'm 25. So you were very small. Your grandfather is obviously a big influence on you playing your bowls, yeah? Yeah. And so would your grandfather play?
So my grandfather played for Guest Memorial, which is up in Dowless in Merthyr. Then obviously he played for Merthyr indoors as well, and he was a very good player. My grandfather, he was only lead, or he could only play his backhand, which a lot of people like Steve Barton used to wind him up about. But yeah, it was never his forehand. But yeah, so he was a big influence on me with bowls.
Yeah. So what's your first recollection playing bowls? Was that indoors?
That would have been down with the juniors in Merthyr,
Okay.
with Mostyn Lewis. There was a guy called Lenny as well, which is Ashley Facey's grandfather, and his slime. And yeah, they were marvellous with us.
And how old were you then?
I think I joined it when I was 5, so it would have been late 90s, and then it just went from there.
Yeah. Who was playing with you? Because every time we talk to somebody, going back in time, there was lots of youngsters playing, wasn't there? You know.
The junior section when we were younger was incredible. Like just in Merthyr, you had the likes of, there was a guy called Carl Falls. Now Carl no longer plays the game, but he was a very good player. You had Craig Lewis, who doesn't play anymore. Danny Davis Jr. You had John Evans, Nicky Minot, Craig Lewis, John Lewis. We had Tyson Windando. Owen was there with us as well. Christoph Clefens. We had a real good bunch of juniors there. Jason Foote was another one. That's just reading off my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? Lots of people tell us that.
It's one of those things you kind of, the more people we speak to that started around that age, kind of, people in the early 30s, late 20s, there's always, if they started young, there's always been like this big push on this huge junior section. There was so many kids that played, and then there was just like a gap.
It was incredible.
It just like disappeared almost, and now it's like hopefully we're starting to get back to a little bit of that, where we've got more kids playing, and you're seeing these bigger sections. Obviously Merthyr again, they're starting to look strong with the junior sections. A few other places now picking up more and more under 18s juniors that are looking quite strong. But it seems to be like that was the golden age of junior bowls, and it's showing now. You look at the some of the names you mentioned there. Some of them are quite high prolific. Indoor and outdoor players, Welsh champions, represented Wales. Owen Dando, obviously running in for the Commonwealth this year. It's a weird one. You kind of look back and think, that's where all of the now bowlers are, like for Wales.
I don't know if I mentioned him, but obviously John Evans played as well.
Yeah.
John was a big part of the juniors with me.
Yeah, yeah. And you and John are big mates, because we had John on. He was, when did he go last? He was the last one out.
No, he was a couple before.
We are good friends. There's a lot of banter between us.
Yeah.
But he's been good to me all the way through since I was growing up, and been good to me.
Good guy, John.
Yeah, we like John.
We do like John.
I've only said that, man, because he told me if I don't give him a shot.
Yeah, of course he did. Of course he did.
Okay, so let's get back to you. 5 starting up in Merthyr, playing with all these players, and you going along. Where did that sort of go? When did you start sort of playing in competition? Did you go outdoors then at some stage?
Yeah, so I played outdoors as well, but we were never able to play for the teams and things, then when we were younger.
An age limit, right?
No, I don't know so much it was an age limit. It was just, I don't think they
You had to be over 60 to play, was it?
I don't think it was so much of an age limit. I just think, like, for me as young, like, travelling around as well would have been difficult. But as in when you're a kid, because my grandpa used to play, like, like if I was in a second team or something and he would be away or I'd be home and he'd be away, like vice versa.
Yeah.
Difficult.
Yeah.
But I've had it. But like my mother and father used to take me as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I couldn't really put a finger on the first team game I played. I can't remember that far back.
So can you remember? What was your first club outdoor?
So my first club was Guest Memorial.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So Guest Memorial. Now you've obviously you've played for Wales.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did county come before that?
Yeah. So I played county bowls. Outdoors.
Yeah. For now then.
Middle Morgan.
How old were you when you started that then?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. But
your memory's like a sieve, man.
Yeah, no, I couldn't tell you. The reason I just don't know, because Middle Morgan at that time, it was a tough county to get into. So I would have said maybe about 12, 13. I'd have been knocking on the door.
Yeah.
But it was a tough county, Middle Morgan.
And when did international honours come through? Was that under 18s or was that under 25s for you?
So I played under 18s. Funny enough, I played in the first ever under 18s event, which was held in Merthyr, which was quite funny actually. But Mostyn Lewis, he arranged it. Without Mostyn, under 18s bowls wouldn't be here, in my opinion. He was brilliant. So I can't remember what year that was, mine, but that was about, I would say, 2005-ish. Because I just remember Jared being so small. Like, the shirt he had was funny. But, yeah, that's why I can think it's around that date, just because of the, obviously, the size of us, Yeah,
and around that era, there was lots of good bowlers there, with Jared and everybody else. I don't know, was Dan Salmon involved in there?
Dan,
Ross, I don't know what you...
Dan, I believe Dan played in it, I believe Ross played in it, and I obviously know Jared and I did. So,
So, phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, it keeps blowing my mind that, you talk about all of the juniors that age, and, even the ones that you've obviously got your Ross, your Dans, probably the top 2 names in Welsh bowls at the moment, have been for a couple of years. But there's still loads more behind them that are still, you're like, these guys, still better than 99% of other Welsh bowlers. Like, and it's just like,
with Dan and Ross, they were always good as youngsters.
Yeah.
But I think that they've probably added another like 50% into the game as well. So they've just gone clear of others, unfortunately.
I just feel like they've adapted really well to the game. We always talk about the whole rubbish of, is it, what is the game of bowls? Is it fire and driving and all this? And obviously growing up you probably taught to draw quite a lot, but now it's a bit more aggressive, and it just seems like they've adapted and they know the shots to play all the time, and it's just like,
the thing is with us, I believe as well that we led for so long because we had to. We were told, like, you play lead and that's it.
Yeah.
And then obviously when you skip in like they do as well now, you'd never think they're going to miss because they were so good leading off. So now they've gone up and they can still play those shots.
I feel like I feel like kids now, we talk about obviously, with the names and stuff you had and how good they were, and they've shown it and they're still there. You talk about some of the kids now, they don't have the privilege almost of staying lead all the time. They've kind of got to be pushed a little bit back because we are kind of almost rebuilding kids again,
You've really hit a good subject here, because I think the under 25s has just gone.
Yeah.
And the men's under 25s. You had Elijah
you're 200
and Billy Flynn, who were both skipping for the under 25s.
And realistically, Billy's last under 18s year, still under 18 for the year. Elijah's under 18s for another few years.
And they're skipping for the...
And they're skipping under 25s, like...
I actually thought they both played brilliantly in the series. Yeah. And I think, setting them up for the future is good. But the ideal position really for them to be playing would be in that front end unit for under 25.
You look at Elijah playing for Merthyr, right? I know Merthyr's a stronger team than Port Talbot, but Billy has to skip for Port Talbot as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which Elijah does. Elijah usually plays on the mat. So Elijah's getting that, like I said, that draw and stay and lead a little bit more at the club level, where yes, he plays for a stronger club, but he's fortunate where Billy then is kind of stuck having a.
We could sit with another 5-6 guys around this table, and we'd all have different opinions.
Of course,
yeah. We'd all have different opinions, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. And there's people who've got far more experience in bowling than
any of them. Me and you combined.
Me, Liam's got more experience than me and you put together.
Times 3.
Yeah. So. We're not saying that we're right, but it is food for thought, isn't it? These youngsters having to play based on what you said. You started, and all these youngsters who are now, the Dans and the Jarrahs, for a long time in their early careers, they wouldn't move off the mat. That's where they would stay.
Maybe once or twice if they had to, but for club level and county levels and stuff where they would probably have played a lot of, they were probably front end for a good 8-10 years. Like
the year Merthyr won the league, I think it was 2006 we won the league.
Yeah.
The year after, they got relegated. Well, everyone left.
Yeah.
So that's the year I went up to skip them, because everyone Blind and Gwent had just opened, which a lot of the guys from over that area went away, and that's when I went up to skip. So look, maybe I was about 15, going up, which to me was still a bit young.
Yeah.
But I was lucky I played lead for a long time with real good players.
And that's I think that's the other thing as well, is a lot of, you talk about some of these guys, you grew up probably learning from some high quality players that gave you everything you needed to succeed, whereas I think you don't get as much input now with a lot of the youngsters. I mean, a lot of people try, but it's a tough one. It's always an interesting one for your under 18s. You look at Elijah. Elijah's surrounded by very good players week in, week out. Where someone from maybe not quite a strong club who's a merit team only, they're not really going to get that same. But they could still be a good player. It's such difficult to give every one of them. So that's why I think we have the opinion of it, but something I think's got to happen for under 18s. I don't think they do enough from. Personally, I don't think there's enough
clubs.
Well, anything.
No, you mean clubs don't do enough for them, or people don't do enough in the clubs for them.
We were fortunate with that.
Bit of both, really. I think
we were fortunate because in Merthyr, me and my cousin Daniel, he used to play with us as well. So Di Bomber would come down. We'd have a roll up on a regular occasion.
Yeah.
But then Steve Barton used to take us on, so he took my cousin on Daniel first. But I can't remember who I was playing. I was playing with somebody else. But when Daniel finished playing bowls, I went with Steve.
Yeah.
And we'd done quite well, to be fair. But I would think without these people practicing and putting time in with you, we could have just walked away from it.
But I don't think that you have that much. With
John, we talked about John.
John Evans, they're trying
he
now.
He started with Elijah, and then he said that Elijah dumped him, and then he went
to Ollie, and Ollie's dumped him, and
now he's with Jacob, isn't he? So there are people out there who are doing that, and I know I spoke about him before. We had Jack Evans on from Connelly. He goes to Matthew Partridge. So Matthew is helping some youngsters on this. So there are people out there who will help the youngsters,
Yeah, but I don't think they're the they're the youngsters that obviously still need help. But if you want to be successful as an under 18s organisation, I mean, you look at the under 25 series just gone, right? We almost beat Scotland. We didn't. We lost to England because the first 5 ends killed us, and then we comfortably beat Ireland. As an overall, but you ask a lot of those boys, and they would say, "Well, yeah, we were happy with the way we performed, but we should have beaten Scotland. Like, why didn't we beat Scotland?" And it's one of those things where I always think that if you've got a strong team, you need to be also coaching and pulling up the middle pack, lower pack players as well, and that's what we're lacking a bit.
I was looking at the scores, like with the under 25s. This because they obviously had such a tight game with Scotland, and they went on play England after, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, Joe, because it is really hard to concentrate for that amount of time,
Oh yeah.
and especially for the 25s. And it's quite a young team, this Welsh team, to be fair.
Yeah.
Although they've done well. But going into a game against England after that, it is really hard to stay focused because all your energy has gone into the previous game.
Well, I got my own
Yeah,
theory.
well, I'll say it. You know, it's one of those things that they ate food 15 minutes before they started, had to scarf it down, finished a couple of minutes before they got onto the green and played again. And the first 5 they were a bit sluggish. That's where the game slipped away from them.
Naturally happening,
But the other thing, and I think the other thing that struggles with them, and this is where, you know, especially when, you know, I bring it up again, but playing golf as a kid, we used to do a lot of 36 hole. You know, you play morning, come in, you have 45 minutes for lunch, eat, go back out. With bowls, especially for international levels, you're playing 2 matches in a day. When do they give them the practice and the preparation for that?
Of playing that amount of time.
You don't.
Yeah.
Like, there's none. But then you look at some of the other countries now, especially like Ireland and Scotland, and they're doing more test matches, they're doing more preparation for it, they're doing full day activities, they're travelling a bit more to do all this. I think, you know, it's one of those things where we've got to start getting on that bandwagon now. They've only just started doing it, so we're not behind yet. No. But if you let it go too long,
I said it on the day tonight when we were up in where was it, in Frith. Yeah, there was no doubt in my mind that what caused Wales not to be as good in our first 5 ends, where they didn't finish food until 5 minutes before they started.
Fatigue.
Yeah, and I don't think you can just blame it on food. I think it's one of them.
Preparation, isn't it? For me, it's preparation.
Yeah, but
and
it's not.
It's out of people's control a little bit, because we're the home nation. They fed the others first, and that's all right in etiquette and all the other things. But unfortunately, the boys had food. It came too late, really, for them.
Yeah, but you've also got to understand that that's going to happen. You can't control. You've got to be prepared for it.
No, but what I'm saying is that I think that was what's caused the first 5 ends to be not as good.
Yeah, I mean, you could look. There's more. I think there's more to it. I mean, the heartbreak from the Scotland game, losing by 1 shot. I think that's probably played. They defeated. They think they should have won that game. They didn't quite get over the edge. There's probably still thinking about it. There's, you know, again, they don't have the training to get over something like that quick enough. You know, you're not going to get over something like that against a team like Scotland who almost won the whole thing, losing by a shot, and you're like, you know, we'll give you an hour to get over it before you have to go out and play an even stronger team in England at the time, and you're like, well.
But and that's another side of it, in mentally preparing for them sort of things. Are we having psychiatrists? Psychiatrists. Maybe I need one of them. So are we having somebody speaking to them youngsters and saying, look, this is how you'd battle that sort of thing? You know, you've been involved in that Welsh sector, but have you ever had that sort of input?
No. But I just know how, like, even under 25s, internationals is so hard.
Yeah.
Like, because you are playing 2 games in one day, but the standard of play is pretty good.
It's how you can't mess up.
So
you can't have 2 ends that are poor, because teams like England and Scotland will take advantage.
They just step all over you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you're talking about people in that, and, you know, just the young England won it.
Yeah.
Louis was player of the series for
England. Yeah.
And overall, I think...
No, the Scottish skip one.
Scottish skip.
He was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was, yeah. The Scottish back end, all the players were very good, yeah. But Louis Hodges was outstanding, 14. And playing second to him was Finlay Williamson. Yeah. And Finley's not long to come back from...
Yeah, was in Potters.
Was in Potters. You're thinking, well, bloody hell.
Yeah, I seen Finlay when he was a lot younger. And he just, I just looked at his delivery and things, and he just looked all good. Yeah. And you could see that he was going to be decent. And to be fair, he's more than decent, isn't he? He's doing really well.
Yeah. And he played in the Estravacan Open Day last year, and we played, obviously, you know, got chatting with him and had a good chat with him. He's a lovely kid too. Good to go. So down to earth, especially for someone who's got a lot going on for him in the future, you know. I always
on the side of the bridge. I do.
Yeah. There's a few that we wish were on the side of the bridge. I know you was one young girl at the 25s.
Izzy Pym.
Her mother's Welsh, and
come on then.
Yeah. But you know, the thing looking for me, and I think it's always difficult. You can speculate why and why not all the time, but you know, if the ideas are getting pushed out there and hopefully someone acts on them, then that's the reality of it. But you know, I look back at when I used to do, you know, squad days and stuff, or you know, when we had Welsh trials in golf, when I was 12, 13, you'd be there all day. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, and you had everything under the sun, questions, all this preparation. You know, you had so much that you had to do. You had individual examinations, you had group examinations, you had actual field practice examinations. And we used to do it all the time. And you had county days. County days were just as bad. You'd be there for a county at 18s.
You played twice a day.
You'd play twice a day, but also when you had your training or county training days, you'd be there for 8-9 hours.
Yeah, I done it with the golf for the county as well.
Yeah,
with Glamorgan. No.
Yeah, you know, and you'd have your psychologist there doing 2 hours in the morning, then you'd have a snack, then you'd do 2 hours on the range, and you'd have.
You sure you want a psychiatrist?
You know? Yeah, I wasn't a psychiatrist. You had that wrong, but you know, and I think, okay, you may not need to get so extreme when it comes to bowls, but there's so much that we're not doing, especially at that younger age, the older age, even the older age. You know, you played golf. Even the best have coaches. There's no coaches in bowls.
One thing I thought about with the under 25s and maybe with the under 18s, because they play 2 games in one day, why don't they do 2 trials in one day?
Well, the under 18s are even harder.
Because I think personally, because like I said, on the Saturday they play. Is it the Saturday or the Sunday?
That's a
they
good
play
point.
2 games in
Saturday
one day.
2 days, yeah.
So give them a trial with two 21 games, because you're going to be playing now when you go anyway.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's not a bad idea.
That's a really good point. That is. Yeah.
Something
I never thought of that before. And as you said, under 18s is even harder because they're playing.
Well, the under 18s, even though they're not playing 21 ends 2 games, but they play what, like 8-9 different games a set play throughout the day. Like even if you're not playing as many ends, but you're still there. It's the time it takes. It's the hard part in bowls. It's not so much the play inside. It's like, well, you're there from 9 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night. You know, you're like, it's a full day event. You may not be playing all the time. You may be playing different disciplines with different woods or whatever. So it's up in there.
You're certainly playing 30 plus ends.
Yeah, but you've got to, like I said, you've got to prepare for it. And how do you make it so and you don't even need to make it complicated.
I think the man just come up with a great idea.
2 trials in a day.
Yeah.
And I think squad days need to be a bit more
prolonged.
Yeah. I think squad, you know, and my and the big one for me is you look at test matches, like the under 25s, the only test match they did was against the men and the women. Like that didn't really help anyone.
No.
You know, we could speak to a lot of people saying that's probably not, you know, if you had the men play Merthyr, you know, or one of the top teams, the women played Newport, or, you know, you could probably find enough players. Even if you said, listen, we're playing a test match in Newport. We've got Newport that have 4 rinks. We need a team to fill in 2 rinks. You'll find 6 rinks of people to play.
Senior level now, is that?
Under 25s. Yeah. Seniors, I mean, it's different. The standard is probably a lot higher. It's a lot, you know, you play senior v senior and you're pretty much going to be all right. Like, and I think they do a bit more anyway, don't they? You have a few more. But, you know, it's one of those things where I think you can do more without doing too much. Like.
Yeah. Anyway, we've got the year and we're still on the man's journey.
That's true.
Because we started from under 18s and we've started talking about under 25s. And then you went and you played Welsh under 25s. Now, you don't have to answer this question. You know what's coming next to you. You had a bit of a band in you.
I've had a couple of bands, I think, yeah.
Okay. Now, you don't have to answer the question, buddy. Do you want to enlighten on them, or would you rather not?
Well, I don't mind, because it's, you know, it's going back when I was younger, isn't it?
Yeah, we're not. Yeah,
still immature at the time.
And I'm coming on, and the reason I'm asking you because I'm going to come onto a little point later on. That's all.
Yeah. So, like, the one time I remember, it was looking back, it was quite funny. Like, so we had a curfew, and Nigel Williams was basically looking for me, but I was really friendly with one of the Scottish guys. So I ended up going to his room for a couple of drinks or whatever.
Yeah.
So Nigel now, I know, is knocking on the door. So I said, "Brian, what am I going to do?" He said, "You'll have to hide." I said, "Where am I going to hide?" I said, "There's nowhere to hide." "Go behind the shower curtain," he said. So I went behind there, and I remember Nigel pulling it open. Snooker, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I remember just sort of waving at him. Looking back, you know, you're young and
Yeah, no, I totally understand it. Been involved in rugby clubs and stuff. You totally understand.
it's just like, because for me, I like to drink as well. I like a little beer. So when I was going away with the boys, mainly I was having a couple of drinks, whatever, and then one night it just carried on a bit too long than what it should have been.
Yeah.
But
And you paid the price for it.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you paid the price for it. Yeah. You're being honest, and thanks for being honest. Because I wanted to come to the next point, and it's my belief. I honestly believe the game has changed. The game has changed, and we've now got you're representing your country. Everything's become more professional in lots of sports, hasn't it? You look at rugby before. In my day, playing rugby,
you could go get pissed before a match, playing over, throw up on the side of the
5 schooners a share. You'd be out on a Friday night before the game, and the Saturday. Them days have all gone. If you look at internationals, you wouldn't have that in Welsh rugby. Players wouldn't go on the piss, right? They wouldn't do that the night before a game if they're playing the next day. Football players wouldn't do it. If bowls wants to be taken serious, and I know it's not a professional sport, it's still it's an amateur sport. They're not getting paid for doing it. But if we want to be taken seriously, we need to look at. I think there's a drink culture in Welsh bowls.
I can only speak on what I do, right?
Yeah.
Whereas a few years ago, I used to drink quite a lot, and I'd be probably one of the last to leave the bar. But over the last few years, since I've had my boy, which he was born in 2018, because I really loved playing for Wales. It was just because of what my grandpa done for me and things. It felt like I was repaying him for the efforts he put in. And so I sort of started to chill out, and I'd be in bed by 10, but I would have about 6 pints. Now, because I was struggling with alcohol at one point, which I'm not embarrassed about, is life, and I felt that I needed that drink. So but I'd wake up the next morning, I'd be fine. I didn't feel anything, but that's what it used to make me play okay as well. Yeah, because it relaxed me.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm not criticising anybody. I'm just saying whether you can. And I'm not saying if you have a couple of pints, it's not about that. It's not about, sometimes you can stay up and you don't drink and you stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning. Is being fatigued just as bad as maybe having a few pints and going to bed at 10 o'clock and it's about professionalism for me.
I think it should be, I always say, treat it as the internationals, right? So do what you do on a Friday night. Because you're used to doing it, your body's used to it. You don't, alright, don't go over the top and get inebriated, but I always say, like, for me, I used to do what I'd done normally, because I got in the team doing that. So when people say about a drinking culture in Welsh bowls, we do have a lot of people who like to have a beer, and they're adults at the end of the day. But I just think that you've got to like, you are playing for Wales at the end of the day, anyway. You've got to put that first.
And that's the question, isn't it? Where do we put? The other things, certainly with under 25s, is that we've now got players playing. You look at Elijah play, over there. You had, who was the youngest?
Ollie was playing.
So you've got people who are under the age of 18. So that then becomes a little bit difficult as well, doesn't it? Because you got maybe a handful, four or five players who are under the age of 18, and you've got all the rest who are over 18, and grown men, adults, should be able to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, you say that, right, Mike, and it's a true story. It says we were up in, I believe it was up in Elgin, and it was my last under 25 outdoor. I only played 2 years outdoor, but so I think it was Alan Hodges said to me, "Look, Ethan, who's 15, it's his first cap this year, so you were looking after him." I said, "Alan, it's my last year, so I want to go out on the last day and have a few beers." Tough, he said. Anyway, I didn't listen to a word he said. So, because Ethan had a couple of boys with him anyway, a couple of grown men who were close to him. Well, I remember going back to the room about 12 o'clock. So I'm walking across the road now. I can see Ethan standing there in the middle of the road in traffic lights. I think he just had a pair of boxers on, or shorts or something. And I went over and he was rotten drunk, like. So anyway, Alan gave me a right row the next morning. Yeah. He said you should have been looking after him. But anyway,
it's such a. a tough one, but the way that any sport would work, especially for being and I agree with that. I think if you're used to a routine before, you can go and do it. A couple of pints is not going to be the end of the world. If you can manage 2 or 3, fine. If you can manage 5 or 6, fine. But like I said, if you're getting blackout drunk to the point of, throwing up or whatever and causing a commotion for everyone else around you, then it gets a bit like, you.
No, this is one thing I'd come on to about Steve Jackson when he was doing the team manager's job. He knew that I liked the pint, and he knew that, not so much I was dependent on alcohol, but he knew that I'd like to, it just relaxed me. And I remember him saying to me, Liam, you can drink as much as you want. He said, but the moment you start letting yourself down that green and not performing is the moment you won't play again.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way to deal with people, because you get that respect then as well.
Yeah, and I think that's what I think we're scared a little bit to do. If someone's underperforming, not quite performing well, and I don't want to call it favoritism because I don't think it is, but it's almost like they're not quite willing to step on the toes of people. They don't want to upset someone because it's their second or first time or whatever. It's almost like they make the easy choice rather than the hard choice sometimes.
I had a conversation. I wouldn't mention the player. He's no longer under 25s. Established player. I think he's in the full men's team now, going away next week. And he said, wouldn't it be nice for the under 25s who come into their last season or what have you, instead of saying, okay boys, don't drink on the Friday night now, don't drink thing. What we're going to do is we're going to stay one more night and we'll all go together. And we can have a few pints together. Now, if we did that, is that something you think players would say, okay, I won't drink on that Friday, Saturday, and we stay Sunday night?
Well, if they are, it's a lot less than what they might be planning.
Yeah, I don't know. He mentioned it to me, and I thought, that's not a bad idea again,
I think they would buy into it, but I think the problem is it's an extra night and it's extra expense for the Welsh, and they won't do that just purely because of the financial situation.
Okay.
Because everything at the moment comes down to financial.
Yeah, and that's obviously the other side of it. Then is you're looking at, how much are they gonna? And that's the thing, And I think who has to bite first? Is it the players that got to take it a bit more serious to prove that they deserve to be bought into, or is it the organisation saying, listen, we're gonna up the funding, but if you don't,
I know I've
following the rules,
I've stirred up a hornet's nest there a little bit, but.
No, not really.
It is food for thought. It's a good conversation.
It's a good conversation to talk about because at under 20, and I was the same when it came to like college golf. Right, last game we went out. You just kind of it's a thing where it's your last ever time. You want to celebrate what you've achieved over the couple of years that or however many years you've played at under 25s. And how do you do that at 25 years old? You go out and have a good time, have a drink.
Like I love playing with under 25s. I did. So when it's come to the time where they've come to an end, I was devastated because it was like I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. And I really enjoyed the series, and not just that, you see people from other countries or you've got friends with over the years, and then like, I'll see you again.
Like you said, a few of those under 25s will take a good while to get into the men's team. The men's team's just so strong, and
I was going to come down to that in a while again, because I know this man has got some, he's got some views. And I think lots of his views are really good views, yeah. But maybe sometimes on a Saturday night after they've got the pints on Facebook, it comes a bit out in a different way than what you might mean. So, under 25s, we had a little chat about whether we should with the drinking, not drinking. I think it's about, again, you mentioned Steve Jackson. Steve's going to be coming on in a few months with us on the podcast, already sorted. Sorry, excuse me. And I know you commented on this, so we're going to talk about team managers, and selection in itself. We've had a number of discussions with a number of people come on the podcast about whether we have a single sort of team manager selector and some helpers, or how do we deal with this? And we've had some people from Shortmat who said,
the most successful they found is one team manager.
One team manager, one idea, one way of playing. Pick your team and support the team, and everybody knows what is expected of them, even off the green.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's your thoughts on that? I know you will have thoughts on that.
Yeah, and to be honest, I just much prefer the team manager role. I think it's much better than having selectors. Like, you could disagree, especially the way it is now, because I believe that the team manager gets a deciding vote, which I don't believe that used to happen before, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that is true, but it's what we're getting told, right? So you've got 3 selectors, but you've got a team manager who gets a vote, so that's 2 each. If you vote and say, for instance, Martha, you got 2 votes,
Yeah.
but you got 2 votes, what happens then?
Yeah.
Who's
So
got
the
the
team
carrying
manager will
vote?
get over the deciding vote, won't he? And I just believe, personally, it should be down to one team manager. Steve Jackson was... I can't speak highly enough of Steve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, he was brilliant with me, personally. But I just think the team manager should be one.
Yeah. And maybe 1 or 2 people on that help out and are
So-
just there floating and you know,
But
making
yeah,
sure everything's going all right. Like,
I think they could have, like Steve had a number of people going around watching games for him and giving him feedback and
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
I believe that's the way to go down the road of it, you know. The old selection thing is so much in the past now.
yeah, I think, and I think
like-
the biggest problem you get with selection, and this is where things kind of cross over a bit, is like you said, there's going to be a lot of disagreements, and then who are we going to please? How are we going to please them? There's no tough decision, and I think one person is going to have, you know, if they're willing to make the tough decision, and most of the time if they're buying into it as the only person running it, they're going to make that tough decision. They're going to pick the team they want. They're going to create the culture they want.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked to, obviously, the wheels about it, and Rob was like, you know, when I did the under-25 series, and I think, where was he, in Ireland?
Yeah.
They ended up winning it, and he was like, I had everything. Like, I took 3 rinks.
Yeah, it was COVID, I think, so
It was
they only
during
took
COVID.
3
He took
rings.
3 rinks. I had the whole... I got given the reins, and we won it. It's like, you know, how does that...
And that's happening in short mat, isn't it? We
and
talked
that's
to
happening in
short mat, and
mat
they say
a
that,
lot.
you know, they say that England have been quite successful.
Well, England have... They said last year they went to one team manager, because Ireland did it the 2 years before. Ireland won both the internationals the 2 years, then England did it last year, and they ended up winning it. And then short mat, they're like, we've got like one from every county that picks, and it's like, how do you do it?
Now, I know that, and you know this, you can have 10 groups of 3 picking a Welsh team, and we'd all come up with something different.
Of course,
Yeah. So we're never ever going to be happy. My argument on all of that, though, is whoever's picked at the end, it's done. Once it's picked, it's never going to change. So, you know, everybody needs to get behind that team. And, you know, we're St. David's Day today. We're recording St. David's Day, so I'm not sure when this goes out. Our team goes away. Women and men go away next week to Belfast. We wish them all the best. And by the time this goes out, they'll have been there. Hope you've come back and you've been totally successful. And for us, we're 100% behind everybody who's out there. So, you know, that's what we need to do in it, you know.
Yeah, so obviously last year, I've been in for numerous years and I was left out last year, which is fair enough. You know, probably not playing as well as I have been in the past, and, you know, not practicing enough don't help really. But I was a bit, I was disappointed because like how much I enjoy playing for Wales, you know. But I still wanted them to do well, even regardless that I'm not playing. Like, because all the guys I've been around them for so long and become teammates or whatever. So I want them to. And when they beat England, it was brilliant. Yeah, like outstanding achievement. And to finish second last year, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
But I do really hope that they can go out to Belfast now and sort of try and compete again and do as well as they can. It'd be nice.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
And you know what?
Especially with the Commonwealth going around the corner, obviously I think the sides, especially the women's side, you've got a few people who stepped away from internationals, come back obviously for the Commonwealth. So the women's team's looking that little bit stronger. The men, you know, they're ramping up to, you know, we've seen a lot of success across quite a few of the men this year. You know, we've seen more men go to all of these international events as individuals, more than I think we have in the last couple of years. You know, so you're looking pretty positive about potentially, you know, fingers crossed we can make a couple of upsets happen and win the series. But it's always going to be tough against Scotland and England. You know,
they're just so accurate, man. They are, and it's good. It's really good to play against them. Yeah, it just to watch it. It's like
one thing is for me, we've never met, have we? Today, I think is the first time we've ever met. We spoke, you know, on the phone and to send messages and what have you. The one thing that's been very clear to me since we've been here for 1 hour, we've started the podcast and we had a chat before, and the Liam Stone that I see and I read on Facebook isn't the Liam Stone that you get in person. Liam Stone in person for me is a person who's passionate about a game, who wants to play for his country, and that's all he is he feels annoyed that he's not playing for his country. Yeah, that's what I'm getting from you, and I think people need to know that, because you know you have, and we had a conversation before when I phoned you up and I said about coming on the podcast, and I said about stuff you put on Facebook, and you said, yeah, I was annoyed and what have you, and I can see that now sitting here in this table. I can see somebody that just wants Welsh bowls to be successful.
I'd love that. That's what I want. Like, you know, and sometimes I do say things I shouldn't, but
when you write it, you don't.
Write it. Sometimes I say it as well, but no, it's usually after a few beers or whatever. And it's no excuse, but when that message went out, we'd had a bit of bad news. My partner's cousin, she's only 24, and she was passing away, and a lot of that was like emotion as well, because it was horrible what we were going through, and then I was annoyed, and it just didn't mix with beer, and I shouldn't have done it. And
Listen, it's not a thing. And what I'm saying is that people are watching this and or listening to this, get to know Liam Stone, because what you read of Liam Stone and Liam Stone the person, they're two different things. Yeah, you're coming over to me, but you're coming over with everything. I can see the emotion in. We're talking about representing your country, and I can see the emotion coming from you. And I'm no doubt that comes back to one person as well, down to your grandfather.
Yeah, it does. Yeah? But the thing is, it also comes down to me as well, because maybe I haven't been performing like I used to, and that's when you don't perform, you don't deserve to play. And like I said, the lads, we were talking about it yesterday, and I said, could I get in the Welsh team now? Like, I believe I probably could if I played enough, right?
Yeah.
But am I playing to the standard to compete against these lads? In a way, I'm putting the time and effort in that I should be to compete when you go to the internationals, and I'm not. Yeah. So I don't deserve to.
Wait a minute there now, okay? Because you've led me down another great pathway, okay? How old are you?
34 now.
34. We talked about this before. My view is, once you pass 25, there's lots of really good Welsh bowlers over the age of 25.
A lot. So if you cannot get into that 24? Is it 24? Indoor, outdoors are a lot different. It's even harder outdoors.
They take 4 reserves now.
Yeah. So what is it?
28.
28, is it? So all them under 25s coming through when they're just finishing, where are they going to go to? So my argument is, we shouldn't just have one team. I know I was talking to my mate Craig Pritchard, and yesterday, and he was saying England had got an under-30s team. Yeah. We used to have a Welsh counties under-35s. Why don't we have an under-35s? So all them under-25s coming through, all them players like yourself who drop off in a bit of form, don't get selected, fine. They're making bad players overnight.
Yeah, and they're not forgotten about.
No, and if we build that bigger pyramid, we've got players underneath who are now really getting good competition against other national teams.
Yeah. Surely
that pushes the people who are on the top. So inevitably, we end up we get in 60 players playing better.
Yeah, I mean, my argument is, and I know this is a bit of a far reach, but I'll use Ross as an example, because obviously, he's the highest rated Welsh player we got at the moment. But what happens if Ross starts playing poorly? They're not going to take him off.
I'd be amazed at where he's going at the moment.
Yeah, well, obviously, he won't be. I'm just saying hypothetical. This is obviously, like, you imagine someone like Ross starts playing poorly, they're not going to take him off. No, they're like, oh, well, we're just going to stick it out. And I'm like, well, okay, yeah, you might not take Ross off, but if you've got someone in the wings who can do a job and they're ready for, that's making them then hopefully make someone like Ross keep, it's stuff like that. And I think that's where Scotland and England do really well, is they don't take no shit from anyone. They're like, if you ain't performing, you'll get it. I don't care who your name is.
But they've got a huge pyramid, haven't they?
They're taking you out.
But the pyramid, the top of the pyramid are playing.
Yeah.
But the bottom of the pyramid are still always playing
well,
as well.
You look at, I talk about England all the time, because England do it all the time. They never take the same people to all these events. You talk about, like, who's your English players that everyone knows. You got your Nick Brett, you got Les Gillett. You've got, I'm probably going to
Well,
blank
Sam
out.
Tolshad, in
Sam Tolshad, Jamie Walker. But half of them don't play in international events. Okay, they're out playing, some of them playing in the BPL, Australia, different places, blah, blah, blah. But you've got people like Harry Goodwin who goes to these events. Well, you know, if you think of England Bowls, the first name out yet is not going to be, even though Harry Goodwin is pretty good.
Oh, he's excellent.
He's still a great player, but he's not, you know, Dom McVitie is another one, you know.
Yeah.
What I believe they do in there, they're exposing like to international events, so to get them ready, just in case they are called on, like, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just to put them into that environment to say, look, this is what it's like, and this is what. The
and I think this is what Welsh men did quite well this year. Is okay. Ross went over to certain places. You know, you can't deny Ross if you want to try and. But Danny Davis Jr. also went. Carl Wood also went. You had Dan Salmon back in going back to another international. You got 4 different people there.
Yeah.
You know,
it's going to be very I'm looking forward to seeing the Commonwealth Games selection.
It's going to be interesting
because, we all know that Ross and Dan are going to be the 2 to go.
You'd expect that,
in my opinion, right?
You'd expect,
and I would say a lot of other people. Carl Wood probably over the last 2 years, I would say indoor and outdoors been
phenomenal.
He's been unbelievable. So he's probably one of the most. Well, he probably is the most consistent player, I would say, over the 2 years.
Yeah.
And then Junior's won 2 Welsh titles outdoor, and he's just won the World Cup.
First ever, with Ross.
So it's brilliant. It is.
And then
Jared
is.
Jared's pulled his name out.
Then
But you got Dando. Dando's up close on the next steps. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's Chris Ashburn picking his team on his own, but he's got a hell of a job, isn't he?
Yeah. And my question is how are you going to pair him up? Because obviously, you know, the argument I've heard a lot of people is well, obviously Dan and Jared are 2-time medal winners in the pairs, and obviously gold medal holders. Obviously, Jared now out of the question, pulled his name out. Does Dan stay in the pairs, or do you have Ross play with someone? Because Ross has both played with with Danny Davis Jr. and Carl Wood. You know, he played in Carl Wood outdoors in the international series in the pairs. They didn't lose a game. Won a World Cup with Danny Davis Jr. Or do how do you? It's who's playing away and how do you match? I think that's the question.
But it's good to have that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's good to have that.
But I think we should have even more pushing. That's my argument.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's why there's lots of them out there. When it comes to the big team representation, our pyramid is too small. But they're not getting them games. There's lots of people like yourself, I don't know.
There's loads of things you could talk about.
At men's series now, we'll have Ethan Humphreys. Was last year. Who was the other boy? I can't remember his name.
From what?
Skip. Played with Ethan. I think he played with
LeBreton.
Yeah, Owen LeBreton. 2 of them going out of under 25s, good players.
Probably not going to make the men's, but close.
What I would like to see. Do you know where you've got the 24? So you've got your squad of 24 with your 4 reserves, right? Mm-hmm. I've said it for a long time. Do you know what, the men have got the practice, the squad game today against the women who said it, I think on. Why couldn't they do? So you have the men's team, and then you've got the 4 reserves waiting to go in, right? Mm-hmm. So get an extra 20 players who would compete against the men. Yeah. Who want these spaces? So I'm like, I want it. Yes. I want to beat you because I want our place.
Yeah.
So we'd have a real competitive game then. I think, and I think it would benefit the men's team.
And maybe not even just people who want the spots, but people who are good enough to take them. Yeah. Could you imagine if you said, I want. And who's a...
Well, there we are. You've got the 32 of now. So they picked from the 32 players.
Yeah.
So from a final 32, they went down. So you'd have
32
24.
starters.
So you've got your 8 then of now.
Yeah.
So 8 over. So you'd need another 16.
But wouldn't that be good for our youngsters as well?
Because they would play
you talk about...
Because you could have the under... Who didn't get the trial, who played under 25s going in.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't even need to necessarily make it super competitive, but even if you had, some of the under 18s played in it as well, to give them a bit of experience, and maybe against the, or if you put my thing as well with the men, the under 25s, because under 25s is only 4 rings, right? And I don't know how you do it with the seniors because they 6 rings, but for the under 25s you had reserves. That could have picked up an extra couple of people, like you said.
There's lots of people in the middle of that. People like Liam.
Not for the seniors. But not for the seniors. But you place that into the under 25s pyramid. They've got 4 ranks playing their matches over there, men v women, whatever you wanted to do. But then you've got your 2 reserves from both the men's and women's sitting around waiting to go in, if they get in. Well, like I said, if you had a couple more people, you've now got 2 rinks of reserves, plus your 4 rinks. You build in that experience of more.
But I think we should be playing other international matches. I think
test. There's not enough test matches.
I think that we should have whether it's a Wales A team. Yeah, we have an A team that then plays against England. If England got under 30s, then let's play England under 30s.
You can start small and play against clubs. Well, you could do anything. You could literally say, club available on us.
We used to have an under 25 test match every year against England. Yeah. 4-ring test match, which is, I can't remember if it was before. I'm pretty sure it was before the series, which was good because then you competed to go like a competitive game. So then you go into the series and you know what to expect, basically.
Well, you look at any, you talk about rugby or even football, like the friendlies that happen, or even internationals, right? What the Wales and New Zealand and Australia and all these do in the summertime when they're not playing rugby is test matches.
Well, we had another thing that used to be going between Wales and England. I played in it. It was on ITV4, which was a test match. Yeah. It was brilliant. Like, I think it was Steve Arness was in it, I think, with me, Dave Hardin, and Fionn. I can't think of a second name, from down Carmarthen way.
Oh, Fionn Stephen. And Fionn and the sisters from Ammanford.
I think it was
Jones.
Fionn
Jones.
I can't remember which one.
Fionn Jones.
But it was really good because like it was the first time I'd done it.
Yeah.
So you were exposed to that.
Yeah.
It was really good, like,
and I think we're answering the question we're asking you, and I think that the big thing for especially Wales and looking at what's happening in Scotland and Ireland and England, they have everything under the sun going on, so they're not really they're quite far ahead in terms of that. But Scotland and Ireland are starting to prepare better now. And I think we need to jump on that.
And that's why I asked the question on the drinking, is because it'd be interesting to see, and we'll never know because you can't see behind the scenes. No. You don't know how they're preparing, why are they getting better?
Another thing I think, which is a big thing, do you know when you see, I don't know if it was under 25s, but the Irish team, they got a full tracksuit, right? Mm-hmm. So they look a team.
Yep.
They got a full tracksuit. The English team, full tracksuit. The Scottish team, full tracksuit. We haven't. We turn up in black trousers and a white shirt, like a red jacket. Like, for me, I think we should be looking for sponsorship to get a kit where we all look the same and you feel part of a team. Then.
Yeah, you look at obviously Ireland, and now they were sponsored by Kith. They get all their tracksuit from Kith. Scotland and Kit, those are Kit.
But it looks good.
It does look
good.
Scotland have obviously just jumped from XX20 and they've now just been sponsored by Greengage, which is a Henselite supplier, so they're now Henselite tracksuit. England, I don't know who does England, but they probably get
is it O'Neill's?
I think it is O'Neill's.
O'Neill's do England.
And I've always had the idea that if you wanted it to, you would have it sponsored. Like I don't think you can say you've got the number 3 player in the world in higher than any Englishman, or any Scotsman, or any well, maybe not Scot. I don't know what the rankings are, but
I don't look at it. I don't think
so it's like you've got the eye candy there to probably have. I think there's about 9 or 10, 8 or 9 women on the top 50. You've got at least 6-7 men on the top 50 in so you've got the reason you can get it. So it's not going to be hard
for all the listeners and viewers on this podcast. Obviously, this is going to go out in a few weeks' time, and by the time this goes out, our podcast with Mike Kent would have been out because that goes out next week.
This goes out in 3 weeks,
and this goes out
4 weeks, 3 weeks.
Was it Mike we did last?
Yeah.
And if you go back to
Rob and Dave Wheel is after.
If you go back to the 8th of March, the 8th of March podcast, we talk about a lot about change, a lot about sponsorship.
And
we've asked everybody to comment on that podcast, so it'd be interesting if you could go back. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it. If you have listened to it, please comment on it. And we're going to go from there. So, unfortunately, we haven't So anything about that podcast, so he knows nothing about it. So bringing up that point was really interesting, but it is something that's going to come out in next week's podcast, and I know you'll really enjoy that next week's podcast. Okay. Yeah. Right, where were we then? God, you've come up with some great ideas today, bud.
It's just been good. It's been a good chat, and I think for me, who's you've had an opinion on what, and Dad's right. I think you want to be successful. You're passionate about wanting it to be better and having a reason to be as well. Talking about all the things we have, it seems to like almost used to be brilliant and everything used to be going for it, and then all of a sudden it didn't, and now it's just kind of like almost like just dragging along a little bit. And I think we need more people who have this passion to increase the benefit of bowls in Wales, to start we need to do more for it.
But for me, one of the big ones you come up with today was having a double trial in the same day.
Yeah,
I think that's a tremendous idea. That shows people's ability to be able to play and sustain that level of bowls for a whole day. With a break in between, I think that's got to be a winner, isn't it?
I've always wondered this, from even when I was involved in it, why we weren't having 2 trials in one day.
That's
and the crazy thing for me, and again, obviously with the background of sports, and I sports all my life ever since I could probably walk, but you've got to prepare how you play. It's always been a massive thing for me, is if you don't prepare and practice how you play, then what's the point of practice and preparing? Because you're not really doing, and how everyone can practice playing bowls, but then you've also got to practice the other things as well. Playing 2 games in a row, having 2 days, playing back 3 games in 2, all of these events that require such a long period of time and focus and practice. And the other thing as well is through it is, well, okay, how do you maintain your focus or work to switch your focus off when you don't need to focus and switch it back on, and have these different tactics in order to help you perform for 21 ends, 2 games in a day over an international series.
What I used to do was I'd go away from the green.
Yeah.
So I'd go for a fag, or I'd go a cigarette, or I'd go to the toilet just to wash my face, or just to get away from it and sort of reset then and be fresh when you go back. Because that level for all that time of concentration, honestly, it's hard work.
Yeah, and we obviously probably had the same thing with golf. Golf rounds 4 hours, 3.5 hours. You're out there all day carrying a bag, whatever. But I always used to have a trigger to switch on and off. So every time I had my glove on, I'd switch on. Every time I had my glove off, I'd switch off. So I'd have a trigger to, okay, well, now is my time to start focusing. Because you don't need to focus all the time on a green. And this is where I think sometimes, especially youngsters, they're not told this. You don't need to be flat out focused. The only time you need to be focused is when you're realistically bowling your wood.
Well, I remember John Downey was a great player, John. He used to say to me, concentrate. When you concentrate in playing bowls, it's for like that 20, 30 seconds you're on the mat.
Yeah.
He said that's the time you need to concentrate.
Yeah.
But
because when you're reading heads, you're having a discussion. You're not really needing to put too much effort into having a discussion. Yeah, okay, you have a quick look. You know what you're doing. If you've been, brought up to read heads a certain way, you're probably gonna have a discussion, know what you're doing. But if you're focusing for 3 hours, 3.5 hours non-stop, that is draining experience. Especially for anyone under 25s or someone who hasn't, like I said, prepared for that ability to play for that long. How do you do it? It's such a draining thing, and your body, you haven't done anything, but your body gets exhausted from it.
Well, one of the most tiredest I've been playing bowls, we played a series up in Stanley, which it was above an Asda. It's like really hot.
Yeah.
And playing that game, I remember coming off there and I was like just so dehydrated and shattered because the heat. It was incredible.
Yeah.
It is about it is about taking in fluids. It is about taking on carbohydrates at the right time and sugars and.
Well, it's, you talk at any sport and I hate the argument that it's not a sport, it's not physical enough to be a sport, all this rubbish. It's still a sport, you know. You're still playing a sport that requires skill, precision, focus, attention, and it's long. And this is where the hard part, you know, you can run around a field and hit people and tackle people and do all these things in rugby for 90 minutes. That's great, yeah. That's very physically exerting and thing. But you don't really have to think too much when you're playing rugby.
I don't know. I think the game's changed now.
Or maybe now, yeah. But you know, in terms of strategy-wise, it's usually up to the head coach, and you just try and execute it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you have to come up with a strategy, then play the bowl, and then re-strategize because something's changed that you didn't expect, and then do, you know. So for 4 hours, you're mentally exhausting. Yeah. And that's where you can see a lot of the time where, you know, and I think I'll use Billy's example because, you know, we get on with Billy really well. But Billy, when they played Scotland in the under-25s, they're holding one. He's got a shot that if he plays it properly, he goes 4 up. He either picks up 4 or 5 shots, and that ices the game against Scotland. Right? That late on in the game, he's spoken to his rink, and they've all agreed, yes, we'll play it. You know, they're confident he can play it. They've all said yes, which I think is the right thing to do. If you agree to it, you play it, fair enough. You know, hindsight's beautiful, whatever. Spoken to a team manager, says yes, play it. Plays it, ends up going 1 down. They lose by 1 shot. He's come off that green thinking he's just lost that game. And I'm like, well, you didn't. Because for one, okay, yeah, hindsight's brilliant. You didn't play the shot, but you went for the win. You know, Billy's an aggressive player. He likes to, he likes to play aggressive. He knows he can do these shots and he can play them. He's got the S from his whole rink, which I think, for one, is the most important thing. You know, if your rink's behind you and they trust you to play it, you're going to play the shot. It doesn't matter if you pull it off or not. They've trusted you to play that. They're not going to blame you. But then, and so when he does play that shot and ends up, he's like, well, I now, we lose by 1. Is it my fault, this, that? And it's not. I don't think it is. I think, for one shot, you can pick any shot in those 21 ends. That's the difference, rather than that one. But it's small things like that, especially when it comes to mental toughness and this mental exhaustion stuff and this focus. As soon as you, make a mistake, if you want to call it that, and I don't think it is, but if you're then thinking about that a little bit, then, of course, the next couple ends, you've got to snap out of it quick. And I think this is where, like you said, that ability to switch off, switch on, move on quick and focus in that moment, that 20 seconds when you're on that mat, rather than this, that. It's a
positive mindset as well, though, Nick. It's to keep a positive mindset all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be, especially when it comes to play, when you're on you can be as negative as you want when you get off for an hour, or if it helps, whatever. But especially, when you're on the green, I think you've got to be as open-minded. And I think that's where, and this is why I said to Billy, I think, what did you think you did wrong? And he said, well, played the shot. I was like, but that's not what you did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. No. Because one, you had the most important, your team manager said, yes, play it, which is, do you listen to your team manager? I think depends on, what anyone else says, but the most important thing is the 4 of you on that rink
agreed it was the right shot.
Agreed to play the shot.
Yeah, and don't forget, now, even though you skip the rink, right, you've still got 3 other guys with you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I do it quite regular. So I get the 4 of them together and say, look, what do you think? Yeah. So, and if you know that they're with you, the chances are you're going to be close to it as well. Because
and he almost pulled it off. It was close. He almost pulled it off. He didn't quite get the connection he needed for it. But, like you said, and there's 4 of you on that rink. Okay, yes, there's another 3 rinks as well, but you've got to trust those to do their job as well. Yeah, so it's not about those 3 rinks. If you win all 4 rinks, you win the match. Yeah, it's one of those that
I remember in 2018 it was me and my mate Brian. So we won a couple of Welsh titles that year down in Port Talbot. But I think we were in the pairs, triples and fours. So we played like 21 end games basically. Well, no, 18 triples, wasn't it? Yeah. And me and Brian never ever agree on a shot. Yeah. Honestly. So I don't know how we won the 2 titles, but we did, because we never agree on it.
Yeah.
No, me and would never agree either.
And it's like, if I fancy our Brian, no, don't be a... But somehow it just worked.
Yeah.
And it was
You got to trust your partner then, haven't you?
Yeah, but we didn't.
Yeah. You know, it,
But it worked, like, so.
it's always the same way. You know, you might disagree on a shot, but you trust them to play the shot they've picked, and there's where the thing comes in. Because you know, I've been lucky enough to play with Billy quite a bit this year. You know, he skipped my rink 4 times now, and I know how Billy plays. He likes to play these shots that they're not so much risky shots. I wouldn't call them risky shots, but he likes to play the shots that are gonna get him, you know, the victory cup. He likes to take the shots rather than just cut down if he can. You know, he's a more aggressive player. Younger generation now is a little bit more aggressive.
That's where the game's moving on now, right?
Yeah. So when you see a shot that you think, you know, I can play this, and then 3 of your teammates have gone, yes, we're going to win this match, play the shot. You can't say you're the reason that because you went from 1 up to 1 down and lost by what you just can't do that. And I think that's where then, you know, like you said, people need to step in. You know, we talked about it. I would have been on that green saying, guys, that was a hell of a performance. Don't worry about it.
Scotland, yeah.
1 shot down, that's nothing. You know, we'll think of it after. And the other thing I think we need to do as a region after the series is you've got to reflect. You have to have some form of reflection on, okay, what did go wrong? What went right? Where do we think we need to see these changes and stuff? And I don't think there's enough of that either.
We did used to get that. Like people used to say to us, like the last 5 ends, we'd always struggle in games. And it was, when you look at the cards, we were always struggling in the last 5 ends of the game.
But why? You know, that's how we come down to why then, isn't it?
Well, not even why, but it's just how do you get
Change
that better? You know, you don't need to know the why. Realistically,
no.
you know the reality of most of whys is because this, that, or the other. It's always usually the same thing. But you know, how do you change that up? So okay, how do we go from 5 to maybe 3 to start with, and then go from 3 to 1, and then 1 to nothing? You know, it's a progression of okay, well, how do we stop that from happening, bit by bit? Those stepping stones in order to get, you know, over the line. And this is where I think that Scotland-Wales game was so, like, you know, we were close but didn't quite get over the edges. Okay, well, how do you and if you had, go back to having that one team manager, how do you as that team manager then understand how that's a game that I think most of those, if not all of those Welsh players would have said, we should have won that game. Okay. How do you then go?
I'm going to move on from this.
How do you win that game?
I'm going to move on to this, and we're going to have some driving questions. This man, I hunted out, and we've got some driving questions. And the first one is, who wins in a 1v1 with you and your mate Jonathan Evans?
Game of bowls or?
Yes.
Fight then, not fight then.
I think he'd win the fight. He's a bit bigger.
Who's going to win in a 1v1? Because you plugged him in the beginning now, so you can.
In a game of singles?
Yeah. I hope you're watching and listening, John.
Or you'd be watching, don't worry.
He'd probably tell you I wouldn't score 4. But I don't know, I'd fancy my chances.
You fancy you're going to win?
Yeah.
Okay, then.
We'll get a live stream now.
Yeah, we'll have to have a game.
Who would you pick if you could play with any person in the world? Bowls, game of bowls.
That's a good question, that is. I'm going to say Sheriff.
Okay.
Just like the way he plays, like, you know. And
he's so good.
I've never seen him play, but when you watch him, and I'd like to see him. But it's an hard question, actually. Quite a few.
There's loads.
So, favourite food?
Oh, I like a Thai.
Ooh.
Thai curry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Green or red?
Green, I like.
Favourite bowls format and your position in that format?
Love playing 4s. Obviously I skipped now, but for club, I like playing second, man. I do like playing second.
Do you? I don't like playing
second's the best position on the green.
Like playing second.
You need to be, as a second, people don't realise, and you know, we talk about it, I know we're not quick, but we just want to get this out there. I think second probably is one of the most versatile positions on the.
Well,
You've got to be able to play, especially now when we talk about modern day. You've got to be able to play almost every shot as a 2.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and I'm sure they were on about an international side, and they were saying at one stage, an international side would pick their seconds first.
Scotland do it.
The first name down on the rink would be the second, and they would be one of their strongest players.
Yeah.
The reason I say that for second is because when I've played second in international, I felt that's why I'm more confident to play in that. So I mean, when you get put up to third, it's hard. Yeah. It is hard work.
Trust me, I know. It is. I hate that.
I just like playing second. It's
okay.
Just,
And dream holiday destination. Where's your dream holiday?
There's only one, Graceland.
What is that?
I love Elvis.
Elvis? Are you seeing Elvis lover, are you?
Yeah, I named my daughter after him. So
did you?
I called her Presley, yeah.
Oh, bloody hell. Okay, so there's some driving questions. So, sorry, John, you lost that singles match, buddy.
We'll have to get it on the go, John.
Yeah.
And
Bowls Breakdown presents 1v1 series, new series, 1v1.
Yeah, 1v1 series. Live stream.
Get all the mates on and 1v1. We'll have Ross v Jared. Or Ross v Sarah would be even better.
Believe it or not, you'll probably get a few people watching that. It could be a bit of fun.
You probably yeah, and that's what I mean. Just maybe a bit more fun rather than.
I think bowls needs to be spiced up, so things like that.
More fun. Well, I'm hoping, and people know this already, but I'm hoping to do YouTube content now, like actual recorded video content of bowls, certain bowls things that are different. Say. Again, I use Ross. If Ross comes on, he'll play one of us in a match, 5 ends or 7 ends or whatever it may be. But you'd have to spin a wheel of handicaps, and then certain handicap he's got to play with against us and try and beat us that way. Have a bit of banter, not take it too serious. Have a bit of banter, a bit of explanation of what shots and how he's going to get around it, that kind of thing.
I'd play John in most places, right? But I wouldn't play him on Ring 3 in West End.
No.
And there's a reason he turns into Ags Marshall on there.
Yeah. I've seen it.
Unbelievable.
I've seen it.
Okay, I think we've come to a natural ending.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. It was a good conversation about small little things that, not so much the bigger picture, because I think we obviously won't know this, but with Mike Kent, we talked a lot about the organisation changing the structure and the stuff of the thing. But it was nice to have a chat with you as a player, to see what small little changes we can make that aren't going to really cost too much, that aren't really going to be too much of a hassle, that could benefit our players to prepare a little bit better and improve and move forward. I am
so glad, and people who said I was mad to let you come on the podcast, right? I am so glad you come on the podcast, young man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
And what I seen was just the passion and the love for the game of bowls, from you. I'm just going to ignore you on Facebook, but I'll just pick up the phone and talk to you instead, okay?
Yeah, sound. No, I just, sometimes, because I've been involved with bowls for so long, you do get a passion for it. And I just want the best for Welsh bowls, I do.
Yeah. And you've been very honest. You've said, you've answered the questions, the tough questions as well. Yeah, and you've been honest with all of them. So thank you very much, Liam Stone.
No problem, thank you.
Wish you all the best outdoors. Coming up now soon.
Yeah, looking forward to outdoor now.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for listening, watching. Remember, please subscribe on YouTube. Doesn't cost you anything. We're about 45 followers short of 1,000 on Facebook. So on Facebook, if you
can as of today, by the time this goes out, we could have passed it. We don't know, but
yeah. So thank you, everybody. Catch you next time.
Yep, thank you.